Nocturne was an accident, a side project built during lunch breaks that got hidden at the end of a campaign. But what happened next wasn't an accident. Noct blew up. Players loved it, and suddenly Treyarch had a problem. They created something people wanted more of, and now they had to deliver. 4 months after World at War launch on March 19, 2009, Treyarch released Map Pack 1, and inside that map pack was the map that would transfer zombies from a fun little bonus mode into a legitimate game mode that could stand on its own. That map was Verrückt. If Noct was the birth of zombies, Verrückt was the moment it learned to walk. And honestly, I think it's one of the most underappreciated maps in franchise history. This is my retrospect on Verrückt.
They're everywhere! Shit! We need to get these doors open! Don't leave me!
Before I get into the map itself, I need to talk about what this map introduced, because the list is insane. Almost every core mechanic that still exists in zombies today came from this one map. Perks. Verrückt is the first map with Coca-Cola machines. Juggernaut, Speed Cola, Quick Revive, and Double Tap Root Beer all debuted right here. These 4 packs would become the foundation of every zombies game for the next 18 plus years. Think about that. The perk system that you use right now in BO7 started on Verrückt in 2009. That's one map introducing a mechanic that has survived nearly 2 decades of game development. The power switch. Before Verrückt, there was no power to turn on. Noct had everything available from the start. Verrückt introduced the concept of turning on the power to activate perks and traps. Every single zombies map after this would use some version of this mechanic. The power switch became a core part of zombies that maps feel weird. Traps. Electroshock defense on Verrückt were the first traps in zombies history. Activate the power, spend some points, and watch zombies get fried. This would evolve into the Frogger on Shinonuma and the electric trap on Darius, and eventually every trap system we've seen since. The move-in mystery box. On Noct, the box stayed in one spot forever. Verrückt introduced the teddy bear. Hit the box, and sometimes instead of a weapon, you'll get a stuffed bear and a laugh, and the box would vanish and reappear somewhere else on the map. This added unpredictability and forces players to learn the entire map instead of just camping next to the box. The teddy bear has been pretty much in every game since. Characters that talk. Noct had silent, nameless soldiers. Verrückt was the first map where the characters actually spoke during gameplay. They weren't the name crew we get in Shinonuma, they were just generic marines, but hearing voice lines during gameplay was brand new. It added personality to the mode and set the stage for Dempsey, Nikolai, Richtofen, and Takio arriving in the very next map. That's perks, powers, trap, the moving box, talking characters, all from one map. No other single map in franchise history has introduced that many core mechanics at once, not even close. Darius gets credit for Pack-a-Punch, but Verrückt introduced 5 foundational systems, and I don't think it gets enough credit for that.
Yeah!
Verrückt translates to insane in German, and the setting lives up to that name. The map takes place in, I'm gonna butcher it, Wittenau Sanatorium, a Group 935 asylum facility in Berlin, Germany. The date is September 6, 1945, just after World War II ended. This is a mental asylum that was being used for human experimentation. You can see it everywhere in the map. There are operating tables with blood on them, strange writing covers the walls. There's a dentist chair that looks like it was used for torture, not dentistry. If you crouch next to the operating table near a jug and press the interact button, you'll hear a drill sound followed by a man screaming in the distance. That's a hidden detail that most people never find, but it tells you everything about what has happened in this building. The atmosphere is generally creepy. Where Noct felt isolated and abandoned, Verrückt feels actively hostile. The asylum itself feels like it's working against you. The hallways are narrow and claustrophobic. The rooms are dirtied and decay. You hear screams echoing throughout the building. This isn't just a map with zombies in it. This is a horror experience. I would agree Verrückt has the scariest atmosphere of any World at War map and possibly any map in the franchise. Noct was eerie, Verrückt is disturbing. There's a difference. Noct makes you feel alone, while Verrückt makes you feel like you somewhere you absolutely should not be.
Yeah!
This is the most unique feature of Verrückt, and it's never been done again in any zombies map since. In co-op, players spawn on 2 different sides of the map, separated by an electric door that can only be opened by turning on the power. 2 players spawn on the American side with Quick Revive, while 2 players spawn on the German side with Juggernaut. The sides each have different weapons. You're completely separated from your teammates at the start of the game. This creates something no other map has: genuine tension about reuniting with your team. You can hear each other through the door, but you can't help each other. If one side is struggling and go down, the other side can't do anything about it. You're both fighting towards the power switch from opposite ends of the asylum, hoping you survive long enough to meet in the middle. When you finally turn on the power, that electric door opens and your team reunites. That moment of relief is pretty good. It's a feeling that Zombies has never recreated because no other maps had the guts to split the team like this. I think it's a shame that they never brought this mechanic back. Imagine a modern Zombies map where the team spawns separately and has to fight through different sections to reunite. With modern gameplay mechanics and better maps, that concept would have been even better today. It's one of those ideas that was ahead of its time. Verrückt has a dirty little secret that most people do or don't know about. The zombies on this map are, in the original World at War version, are the fastest zombies in franchise history. There's a specific type exclusive to Verrückt called Verruckt sprinters. They run faster than the player. Not slightly faster, noticeably faster. You literally cannot outrun them. This was actually so intense that when they remastered Verrückt for BO1 and BO3, they removed the Verrückt sprinters entirely to reduce the difficulty. So if you've only played those versions, you haven't experienced the real Verrückt. The World at War version is a completely different beast. The progression on this map is some of the best in early Zombies. You start separated from your team with nothing but a pistol and a wall by. Your first goal is to survive. Your second goal is to earn enough points to start opening doors towards the power switch. And your third goal is to turn on the power switch to reunite with your team, activate perks, and unlock traps. That 3-stage progression, survive, push, activate power, gives the early rounds a structure and purpose that Knock didn't have. On Knock, you just survive. On Verrückt, you're working towards something. You have a goal, and that goal matters because your survival depends on reaching the power switch before the zombie count overwhelms your side of the map. The perk machines also add another layer. Once the power is on, you're making decisions based on your points. Do I buy Juggernaut first for survival, or Speed Cola for faster reload? Can I afford both? Knock has none of these decisions. Verrückt introduced the concept of building your character through purchase, which is something that's been at the core of every Zombies experience since. The traps are also surprisingly important on this map. The Electro-Shop trap can clear entire hordes of zombies, which on a map this type is a lifesaver. Learning when and where to use traps become a genuine strategy. It's not just shoot zombies anymore. It's manage resources, buy perks, use traps, and control the zombies through these tight spaces. The musical Easter egg is also worth mentioning. Lullaby for a Dead Man by Alina Siegman and Kevin Sherwood, activated by flushing a toilet 3 times near the power room. This was one of the very first musical Easter eggs in Zombies, and it's a tradition that continues to this day. Every map having a hidden song traces back to Verrückt. Now here's where I have to be honest, and this is what I've said in my One Thing I'd Change video. Verrückt's biggest problem is the lack of open space. The entire map is tight corners, narrow hallways, and small rooms. There is nowhere to train. On the map, with the fastest zombies in franchise history, chasing you through spaces barely wide enough for 2 people to walk by side, the inability to create distance is brutal. You get cornered fast. One wrong turn and you're boxed in with no escape. That's not difficulty through good design, that's difficulty through cramped lever design. I said in my One Thing I'd Change video that I'll open up a courtyard. The asylum has a courtyard that's completely inaccessible. Opening that up would give players one area where they can actually breathe, one area where you can run a proper train, one open space in a map full of claustrophobia. I still stand by that. The map also has a replayability problem similar to Knock, though not as severe. Once you turn on the power, bought your perks, and settle into a camping spot or training spot, there's just not much left to do. No Easter egg quest to chase, no wonder weapon to build, just a ray gun from the box, and whatever wall buys you prefer. For modern players used to maps with hours of side content, Verrückt runs out of new things to show you relatively quickly. And while the split spawn is genius in co-op, playing solo means you only experience half the map's intended design. Solo players spawn on one side, and the other side becomes irrelevant after power is turned on. The map was clearly designed for co-op first, which means the solo experience suffers compared to the intended vision. Like Knock, Treyarch keeps bringing back Verrückt. It was remastered in BO1. It got the full Zombies Chronicle remaster in BO3 with updated graphics, gobblegums, and all the modern amenities. Though, as I mentioned, they removed the signature sprinters. And then in the Revelations, the Asylum appears as a playable section. It also appears as Asylum in Blackout, the Battle Royale mode in BO4, where significantly more of the building is accessible through beyond the original zombie layout. Verrückt is the most important map that nobody talks about. Everyone talks about Knock because it was the first. Everyone talks about Reese because of the Pack-a-Punch and the Wonderwall, but Verrückt introduced more foundational mechanics than either of those maps, and it gets overlooked constantly. I think the reason it gets overlooked is because it's not easy and it's not nostalgia in the way Kino or Knock are. People's first zombies memory are usually Knock or Kino, not Verrückt. And because the map is so punishing with the tight corridors and fast zombies, people don't replay it as often as the more forgiving maps. You don't casually load up Verrückt for a chill session. You load it up to get your teeth kicked in. For what it contributed to the franchise, perks, power, traps, the moving box, talking characters, and the split spawns, that's not just impressive for a second map, that's impressive for any map. Verrückt laid the groundwork for literally everything that came after. Without the systems introduced here, Reese wouldn't work. Kino doesn't work. No Zombies map from 2009 onward works without what Verrückt built. Nocturne Untold proved that zombies could exist. Verrückt proved that zombies could evolve, and that evolution, the idea that each new map could introduce new mechanics, new systems, new ways to play, is what turns zombies from a bonus mode into a franchise within the franchise. Every time you buy Juggernaut, that started here. Every time you flip a power switch, that started here. Every time the mystery box disappears and you have to go find it, that started here. Every time you hear a character quip while killing zombies, that started here. Verrückt didn't just add features to zombies, it established the expectation that every new map should add features. That philosophy of constant evolution is what kept zombies alive for 18 plus years. And it all started in an insane asylum in Berlin. For a map that most people skip when they're listing their favorites, that's one hell of a legacy. Alright, that was my retrospect on Verrückt, episode 2 of this series. If you missed the Nocturne Untold episode, go check that out and let me know in the comments which map you want me to cover next. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.